Welcome to the Life with Joey Calvo Podcast. I am Joey Calvo. Please continue to help the victims of the Texas wildfires, as well as the Texas floods, as well as the California wildfires. They do really still need our help at this time to rebuild. And so today our guest is Lorie Eckert. In over 30 years in the motivation field, she's had 5 books published. She has spoken to 250 audiences in 11 states, wrote a nationally syndicated and award-winning column, and she is a quilt artist making quilts with words and symbols placed into the design. So, Lorie, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Joey. Nice to be here today with you.
Okay, so explain to our audience how you got to, what led you to where you're at right now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I have a lot of messages that are recurring, and one of them is that we reinvent ourselves many times in our lifetime. So my journey started with a reinvention in 1994. So we are a long time ago. This is more than 30 years that I got divorced. And I had to go from being a stay-at-home mom to finding some kind of paid profession. And I thought I would turn my hobby of quilt making into a paid profession, thinking that there's quilt groups all over the country all the time, that I could market myself as a quilt lecturer. So I gave myself a stiff goal to make 12 quilts in 6 months so that I'd have, quilts to take, a show to take on the road. And I was going to make my quilts different than everybody else. So I made my quilts with words in the design. So my quilts say bloom, and they say soar, and they say come as you are, you're lovely, and all kinds of basic motivational stuff. And then after I had the 12 quilts made, I had them hanging on the walls all around my apartment, and a slightly more poetic version of the words popped into my head. So I got up, wrote those words down, and realized that a book had been written. So the first book is The Journey Towards Self-Acceptance and Love. It's an adult picture book. It's not a quilt how-to, but it's illustrated with images, these 12 quilts. But I discovered that I didn't have to just go speak to quilt audiences, because quilt audiences don't pay very much. And so I started to take my lectures to every kind of group, from PTAs to Procter & Gamble. And the message was, that you're beautiful just the way you are, come as you are. So it's the journey towards self-acceptance and love. Well, then people really liked my programs and wanted me to come again, but I only had one program. So I created another set of quilts. And I didn't say the first set became my first book with this Ring Eye Journey. The second set of quilts became my second book, Get Quiet and Listen. And that one is about that we all have an inner voice, and you have to get in touch with your inner voice. And that book I did a picture in 1,000 words. So each quilt had a 1,000-word essay with it. And it was after writing my second book that I realized I liked to write. So that's when I started to write a column. I syndicated it across the country. I earned a couple of journalism awards. And so that was and then a compilation of my stories got published by the same publisher. So the first 3 books were published by Pelican Publishing Company. And then my 4th book was self-published. And then to promote that book, I created a website and started writing blogs. And I've been doing that for 5 years. And the newest book, which came out, just arrived yesterday.
Okay.
So it's a hardback version. It's a compilation of 36 of my stories. All of them are slice of life. My MO, whether I was showing quilts in lecture or writing blogs, is to tell the stories of my life hoping you can glean life lessons. I can't tell you how to live your life, but I can tell you how I live mine. And one of my common topics is gratitude. So in my new book, for instance, one of the 36 stories is called 30 Reasons to Be Grateful at My Granddaughter's Soccer Game. And one of the reasons I was grateful is that some other granny at the game had her blouse on inside out. It was a t-shirt, had her t-shirt on inside out. I was very grateful that wasn't me. That's an easy enough thing to do. So that was one of 30 things that I was grateful for that day. And then each of the stories in the new book, High on Life, has a one-line takeaway. So the one-line takeaway from that is there is always something to be grateful for. So motivational speaker, my message is often life is difficult, but you can do it. I feel like I'm a cheerleader telling you exactly that. Life is difficult, but you can handle it. And away I go. So similar themes through all of my 5 books, through the couple hundred lectures that I gave. That's what I talk about.
Okay. All right. So so you have a new book that you just showed that came out in July.
Yes.
Through Bancroft Press, and like you said, contains 36 slice of life stories, and each has a one take, like you said.
One line. Yeah.
Can you go a little more in explaining, like some give a little more in depth about the 36 stories?
Sure, happy to. Somebody asked me on a previous interview, did I sit down and come up with 36 topics I wanted to talk about? And that wasn't it at all. So I write a blog. I have a website, LorieEckert.com. I write a blog. If you subscribe to my blog, you hear from me on the second and the fourth Tuesday of every month. And it's always a slice of life blog, anywhere from like 800 to 1,000 words long. Very chatty, just like we're talking now. My writing is very chatty. I've been greatly complimented when people say they feel like I'm sitting in their living room talking just to them. So that's what I'm going for. So with the blogs that I write, that I send out to my subscribers, I write about whatever comes up. So for instance, I just saw a movie called The Life of Chuck, and it's based on a Stephen King short story by the same name. Right. And it was a beautiful story. But so I ended up writing about that. So I wrote about the life of Chuck, and I tied that to another old movie called Pirate Radio. Okay. And I tied it to Leanne Womack's song, when you have the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. So that's where I took it, that both of the movies were about the meaning of life. And in both cases, both of the movies that I mentioned, there were fabulous dance scenes, just fabulous dance scenes. And so it's like, is that really the meaning of life, is dancing? Not necessarily, but finding something that gives you that kind of joy, or at least when you get lucky and you have that kind of joy, to recognize that you're having that joy and appreciate it. So my stories just come to me from living life. And so I didn't sit down and, choose 30 topics, but when it was time, so right now I just wrote my 161st blog. So I had a lot of blogs to choose from, and I chose the ones that were the most evergreen, that the topics were the most, sustainable, that you're always going to talk about gratitude or whatever. And one of my favorite stories, one of my very favorite story in the book is about my mom and about how they really didn't, she was a wonderful mom, but I didn't appreciate her. That's really the way to say it. I didn't appreciate her. And now I'm a mom and I'm not always appreciated, But my mom has been dead for over 20 years. I still carry her around in my heart, and I love her. I love her so much. 20 years after her death, because I've been working on it and figuring it out. So my reason in writing that was to say to the world, I love my mom, to also give my daughters and anyone who is a daughter permission to understand that that relationship is often fraught, but don't worry about it because just keep working on it, do your best, and that kind of stuff. And so the ending of that story was that should I meet my mom in the great beyond someday on a cold, crisp day, she would most likely say to me, you should wear gloves and a hat. And I would most likely be really annoyed with her, but that I hoped I would step back, take a deep breath, and reply in kind and say, I love you too, Mom. You may not put on the gloves and the hat, but I love you too, Mom. So that's my favorite story in the book. But the most important story in the book is how to reinvent yourself. So I think that we reinvent ourselves many, 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 many times in life. We reinvent ourselves when we get married. We reinvent ourselves when we get divorced. We reinvent ourselves when we graduate college, when we retire, when we become empty nesters, whatever. And all of these transitions are difficult. But again, I'm the cheerleader. I know it's hard, but I know you can do it. So want to hear about I have a 2-step recipe for personal reinvention. You want to hear it?
Yes, of course.
Well, of course. I kept my recipe for reinvention very easy because when you're going through a stage of reinvention, you don't want to be doing anything most of the time but being in bed with your head covered by the blanket. So I have 2 very easy steps. The first one is that you have to have a healthy routine, which means you do have to get out of bed and you do have to get dressed and you do have to do all the grooming things to make you look like the best version of yourself. And for me, I have to go someplace every day because I'm a homebody, but that gets old really fast. And so you have to have a healthy routine. My healthy routine also includes eating right and so forth. You have to have a healthy routine. You have to do that routine. That's step number 1. And step number 2 is to take 1 step a day, even if it's teeny tiny, towards your new life. And I do encourage you to have like a journal that you keep, which keeps you on track. So you have to, every day, you have to write down your step, even if it was small. I made a phone call to whoever. 1 thing and you're done. Now, if you're feeling really good, you can take 3 steps in a day or 10 steps in a day, but you always have to take 1. And sometimes your step is going to be a misstep or a back step or a side step. You don't know that till after you've done it. That's okay. Just keep taking steps. So then another story in the book really speaks to that. And it was written when I had written my 100th blog. I mean, how do you write 100 blogs? That's insane. But you write it 1 at a time. And so that's, I encourage my readers to do that 1 step at a time, teeny tiny. So have you reinvented yourself recently?
Not well. I mean, I'm working on a new personal journey in reference to being a better person. I've done over 200 plus podcasts, and like you said, getting to 100 blogs. I'm like, how did I wind up doing 200 and not even realize it? But this has been over 6 years, and right now we're working on getting the podcast on radio being syndicated. So we're looking, we're working on getting some national sponsorship. And so, there's that change. But in reference to myself, I tweaked myself a little bit because I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression in 2009. So I still carry the baggage from when I was younger and, being picked on and quote unquote bullied in school. So I've been fighting that a lot recently. I do have my setbacks in reference to it. And my therapist is God. That's right. That's right, folks. My therapist is God. Okay, that's Sundays. That's Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern time. That is my therapy session. And then what I actually start doing now is instead of going straight home after church, excuse me. Sorry, folks. I decided to go out. Well, I can't say partying, but I went out and had a little fun, and so I'm a little bit like jet lag, quote unquote. Even though I didn't take a plane. But getting back to what I do now after church on Sundays, after I have that therapy session, quote unquote, I will sit in the park. There's a huge park right across the street from the church. It's called Rittenhouse Square. So if you're ever in Philadelphia, you want to come to Rittenhouse Square. It's beautiful. You'd love it, especially around the holidays. And I start sitting there and I just meditate for hours. Just sitting there, just enjoying everything around me. Not even thinking of what's going on. I mean, yeah, if I see a couple walking by holding hands, I might get a little upset because, I miss being with someone. But in reference to it, I just sit there and I just enjoy the scenery. It's like, enjoying what God has brought out to us, and it actually gets to be more interesting in reference to it. It actually gives me the reason to tell myself, hey, don't go home right away. Enjoy what you enjoy the opportunity, in reference to it. So that's, if you want to consider that a change, we could, but it's a journey to me. It's still a lot of work I've got to do within it, but that's my quote unquote journey. Okay. So in reference to, so like you said, this new book has got 36 slices of life stories with the one-line take in them, and so you've done 30 years of all this hard work being a storyteller. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10?
Oh, well, next 5 to 10. So I am 73 years old. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so looking 5 to 10 is slightly different for me than much younger people. So the book just came out, and really a book has a short kind of publicity life. Again, it's evergreen, so people could read it forever. But I feel like I'm going to give it a really good year and a half of promoting it, which also means that I keep writing my blog and bringing people to my blog and stuff like that. So the goal is to work really hard on High on Life to make it as successful as possible. But I do really want to keep writing. I went through a stage in my life where I did give up writing for about 10 years. And I don't want to do that. I work too hard to get a following, to have people publish me and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I want to stick with that. And I do find that I have real things to say for my cohort. So a story that I just wrote, really what I wanted to talk about was the fact that my favorite author, Paul Auster is his name, and he died last year at the age of 77. So when he died, I thought to myself, kind of the writing's on the wall. He's in his 70s. I was in my 70s. There's going to be more people dying. It's just a reality. And I thought, should I start a list of all of the people, both celebrities and personal friends and acquaintances and relatives that are dying? Should I do that? And I really thought I should, but I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't, because in the about year or so since he passed away, there have really been a lot of people that I know, a lot of people's names that I know in the obituaries. And so that being the case, you really have to be sure you're living each day to the fullest. I mean, I've known forever that nobody's guaranteed tomorrow, and that clearly someone 50 years younger than I could drop dead long before I do. But it's a very specific and different knowledge than I've had before, thoughts of death. So I think that I'm writing for everyone, but I think my age cohort appreciates my stories of shrinking in height, everything hurting and stuff like that. But I always try and tell everything in a very upbeat way. So yeah. So we're going to be in 5 or 10 years. I hope I am still writing my blog, and that people are coming to my website on the second and fourth Tuesday of every month to see what's going on in my life that they really can identify with, because it really isn't my life. It's just life at this age.
Right. All right. So I put up the website. It's LorieEckert.com. And so you can check Lorie out on there. Lorie, I thank you so much. I'm sorry I had a questions in reference to it. I mean, we brought out, about the new book and, what led you into everything that you're doing right now, and into you mentioned about the quilts. Here we go. Here's another one. Have you thought of maybe hosting your own podcast?
Oh, I have not. I have started again to get people kind of to my website, as a goal of getting people to my website so they see the books I've written and so forth. I also, I'm a prolific reader, mostly contemporary fiction. So I write reviews of everything that I have read, and I post them on my website and different places online. So I try and get people, so I do that, and I've become an affiliate marketer on Amazon. So if you read my review and you buy the book, I earn a big 43 cents.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and getting rich really quick. Yeah. But no, I'm really not going to start any new endeavors. I dabbled a little bit with a YouTube channel to show my quilts with words, because that's really the most unique thing that I do. And each venue is just such a learning curve and so much energy. What is the best way you find to promote your podcast?
I just put it on social media and I send it out to out to the public, and whoever comes.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if when the we get a sponsorship and this gets syndicated on the radio, that's going to go out to 28 million people. So it's going to attract more hopefully it'll attract more listeners to the point where these podcasts that I'm doing are going to be really worthwhile and interesting. I'm not saying that this one isn't. I'm not saying the ones I've done in the past were interesting, but what I'm just saying is, like if or when the national sponsoring happens, this podcast gets turned into a radio show. And so what will wind up happening is they'll probably, because they'll probably grab two shows, put them together to make it the hour, because we would have an hour on the radio every week. So so
how does one get that national sponsorship?
Well, right now I am working with somebody. Matter of fact, I have a guest coming on Tuesday. Her name is Lorie Eckert, and she was on the radio before. She told me about this guy, and so I went to him, and he was like, "Yeah, we could do this," and he explained, everything and how it works. And so he gave me a list of advertisers to email the sponsorship request to. And as of right now, it got quote unquote bit. There is one company looking at it right now. Hopefully they will get back to me soon enough that, sit down and have a meeting with them and, explain everything in more detail in reference to how the ads would be put into the radio podcast/radio, etc. The other thing that I'm working on, and I have a GoFundMe page for right now, and the link is in the ticker at the bottom, is I'm looking to do what's called a meet and greet, where people like you come to Atlantic City, because I would have it in Atlantic City because I live in Philly, and you would be flown to Atlantic City, or you would be flown to Philadelphia and driven to Atlantic City. Let me clarify that. And then you would stay at the venue that it's going to be at, because I would make sure I get hotel rooms for that place. And then you come in that one day, the next day you just do a little press thing early in the morning where, you're chat with the press and explain what, like you did here, of who you are and so on. And, whatever questions they throw at you. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, people, like your followers, like if you turn around and you tell your followers, "Hey, I'm going to be in Atlantic City at this place here, and if you want to come meet me, and sign, get an autograph or whatever, this is how much it's going to be, blah, 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 so on." So that would be for 3 days. And then after that, that's it. So that's another project I've been working on. But at the same time that I'm working on it, I am, right now I'm unemployed. And you notice how, she mentioned Amazon. And what am I wearing but an Amazon shirt? Because I used to work at Amazon. It's from Peak. Yeah.
What is Peak? I didn't know Peak.
Peak peak is usually around the holidays. It's the holiday shopping. That's what they call the holiday shopping. Like, they just had Prime in July. Yeah. Their version of Prime in reference to it is like 2-3 weeks because I worked in a sortation center. We got all the packages that were filled, and we put them and we load them and unload them in the trucks. So that's what we do in reference to that. Okay. So that's what I was doing until my knee went. My right knee went on it. So go to LorieEckert.com. She's got all these blogs. Check out. And you said you have a Facebook page too that you do.
If you look for Lorie Eckert, if you Google that, you'll find Etsy, you'll find Facebook, you'll find LinkedIn, you'll find it all. Pinterest, it's all there. So yeah, come on along.
Yeah, and join the journey with Lorie, and that way you get to learn all about Lorie and all about her life and how some of her stories could motivate you and make you a better person, or lead you to be a better person. So, Lorie, I thank you so much for coming on the podcast. You're welcome to come back on anytime if you have anything new that you want to promote.
Thanks, Joe.
And everyone else, thank you so much for watching and listening to the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. God bless you all.